Thank you, Sarah. Oh, got to keep my mind focused, but I was transported. Just beautiful. Thank you. And so, of course, you just heard Sara Jones, our guest musician for today. I'm Chic Welsh-Charrier. I'll be platform assistant. And we are all looking forward to our own Reverend Karen Gray's talk this morning, entitled Personalizing the Practice of Principle. I can't wait, Karen. Thank you for speaking with us today. And now I invite you to join me in a centering prayer. The two prayers I've chosen today are from a Unity publication. So please join me. Today, we take a moment to pause, a moment to sit, and a moment to bask in gratitude for our inner power of strength. That strength connects us to God within. That strength sustains us and provides the gentle nudge that says, yes, you can. We move more deeply into this moment of prayer as we affirm our strength, radiating out to all other beings, calling forth the divine strength in them too. We breathe in this moment of oneness with God within, this wonderful, beautiful essence of God that we are. Today, I affirm that I am strength. Amen. And so it is, and so it shall be.
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star. You feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on that clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and ever more. You feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and ever more.
Thank you, Sarah. Such a beautiful delivery of a wonderful, wonderful song. Thanks, Chic, for welcoming us into this service in such a nice way. Really appreciate it. And I'm so happy to be here with everyone today. And I've been looking forward to sharing this message. I hope you like it. I want to start off by observing that the 10 Commandments, as commonly presented, really are the TV dinners of spiritual teachings. And I am talking about TV dinners, those bare bones frozen meals that some of us had. My family had them occasionally back in the 60s with little compartments to separate the Salisbury steak from the little yellow corn from the pasty mashed potatoes. Not like today's frozen meals, which just, the sky's the limit. So it wasn't inspiring, but it was better than nothing. The 10 Commandments, they tell us things like don't steal. So it's good advice. They tell us things like don't worship idols. Okay, that's good. It's not like there are no good ideas in the 10 Commandments. Just like TV dinners, they provide the basics. And if you were starving, you'd be glad to have it. But fortunately, we can ask for more. I was really excited recently to find this book by Eric Butterworth called Breaking the 10 Commandments. And I thought, yes, now we're going to go all Bonnie and Clyde. But as it turns out, that's not what it is. It's not about a fun-filled crime spree, of course, because Eric Butterworth is basically Mr. Unity. And so he is talking about breaking the commandments down in order to get deeper meaning out of them, which I didn't know I was looking for, but I found it. So Butterworth tells us that the commandments are not merely, in quotes, they're not merely codes for improving conduct, but they contain keys for modifying consciousness. And consciousness, we know, is what it's all about, right? He says to break the code and find the keys to personal power. And here's how I see it. The language that we get in the commandments, like thou shalt not kill, that language is really just kind of a label. It's not highly instructive. I mean, once you agree that you're not going to kill, and I trust that many of you agree to that, then what do you do? What do you do? Butterworth says that the statements are phrased for the spiritually immature. So that's not us. We want to look deeper. We want to find more meaning. So let's do that. Like every other passage from scripture, there's deeper meaning below the surface of the simple words in black and white. So let's look at one example. We're not going to go through all the commandments, but let's look at number 1. You shall have no other gods before me. All right. What's the point of that one? Well, if there were a lot of gods, and if our God were insecure and bossy, then this would be useful. And we would know what to do. We know we need to choose this particular insecure, bossy God, because that's what we're being told to do. But the truth of the matter is that there are not a lot of gods. There's only one. So we don't really need to be told which one to choose. So as a code of conduct, there's some serious limitation here. We can agree that we are not in danger of violating the first commandment. The truth is, and we're always looking for the truth, we cannot violate this law any more than we can violate the law of gravity. It is a true law, not a policy. It's a law, a simple fact of life. So understood properly, the commandment ought to be a source of reassurance, not a prohibition. Doesn't that change everything? We are not being bossed around. We are being assured. So each of the 10 commandments is a statement of truth. And the truth supports us. And when the book group is finished with the Universal Christ, I just want to mention this one is really good. And there's one chapter per commandment, and it's really great. I think you'd love it. The truth supports us. It's not our job to adhere to the truth. In the second chapter of Mark, Jesus says to let the law support us rather than us be in service to the law. In that example, he is speaking about the law to observe the Sabbath. So let the law, like the law that there's only one God and that's all there is, let that serve your spiritual growth and understanding. Let's not adhere to it out of blind habit because we've been threateningly told we must, as though it's a graven image or even an idol that we need to bow down to this law. Isn't it interesting that it's almost like the commandments themselves became the graven images? Let's really consider what these messages have to tell us and how they can be enriching to us, not bossy. This is how to be enriched by our spiritual practice. Your spiritual practice, by the way, I don't know a lot about your spiritual practice, but I know this much. It is about you. It is not about a set of words written down in ink or carved into a stone tablet. It's about you and your relationship with the divine. So how do you find yourself in it? You'll look for yourself in it. You find the words that speak to you and you let those be your own gospel. You know, the gospel of Sarah, the gospel of Allison, the gospel of Chic. These gospels are just as divine as any gospels we've read again and again. And this is what I meant by personalizing the practice of principle, and also by being on a first name basis with your spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is not a time for formality and niceties. This is intimate. Of all times, I mean, I want you to be your authentic self all the time, but especially in your spiritual practice, be your natural self. And as you read, and we have a lot of wonderful resources, we have a lot of wonderful teachers, yay, open up to that, be open to that information. It's great. But Emily Cady said in the 9th lesson of Lessons in Truth, intuition and intellect are meant to travel together. Intuition always holding the reins to guide intellect. So with all our tools and resources, we can more closely examine any of the teachings available to us and always tap into our intuition. So totally personal, right? But if there's something for us to learn, and of course there is, what do we need to unlearn first? Oh my gosh, how do we clear space for fresh and authentic realizations? Some might even say epiphanies. We got to make space for that, right? So here's a metaphor I'm going to work with. A landscaper once told me that 1/3 of landscaping is cleanup. It's true with spiritual work too. Many years ago, I had just moved into a new house and I hired a landscaper for the first time. She was just starting out and I wasn't ready to invest a lot, so it was a small project. But when I came home from a week on vacation, I came back and I saw what she had done. My yard was so neat and beautiful with a colorful flower bed in front of my front porch. And one critical thing she had done, which I had not even thought of, was she had cleared out weeds and vines and other yard debris from my yard, but also from beyond my fence. There was sort of an unclaimed area between my fence, which of course I hadn't put in, it was just there. And then there was the fence for my neighbors, who I didn't even know. And then the space in between them was just all overgrowth. I hadn't even thought about it, but it would have been there in the periphery of my perception. But she cleared it out. And now with all that junk gone, the beautiful plants that she had added could really shine. It was adorable. And that is how it is with spiritual work. We really do have to get rid of the junk, even the junk that we don't feel like focusing on. And if we haven't focused on getting rid of it, then it's still there, which means ideas, spiritual teachings, concepts planted over the decades of our lives are imposing on the clear and radiant image of truth that you are currently discovering and creating for yourself. And you deserve that. And you see, I am not talking about just terrible ideas that we could put a label on and say, ooh, that's bad, that's bad. I'm talking about things like outdated versions of the 10 Commandments. They don't exactly put us on the defensive. And yet you can see they're not really helping. They even kind of do us a little bit of harm, even though we don't realize it. They are overly simplistic and they occupy valuable space in our consciousness. And there's something really good that could be there instead. And that something really good is truth. And that's part of what constitutes the vines and the weeds and the debris of our spiritual misunderstanding that we need to clear away in order to access and make room for truth. Sometimes when I sit down for a time of meditation and prayer, just my spiritual time, I actually picture myself clearing through vines and overgrowth because I know it's there. And I know it can be an impediment to the truth that awaits me, but I also know I can cut through it. And just like weeds and vines in the garden, it's not once and done. You got to kind of keep doing it. It's an ongoing part of the process to pull away, to deny the power of that overgrowth, no matter how relentlessly it threatens to overtake our path. It wants to obscure our view, but no, we will not settle for that obscured vision. No, we insist on the truth that we know and affirm is there, right? We are diligent and we affirm it not only in our words, but in our outlook, our disposition, and our expectation. And that is the work of unity teachings, and in particular, denials and affirmations. So denials and affirmations are tools based on a progressive acceptance and understanding of unity's 5 basic principles. The 5 basic principles, which are practical guidelines for understanding and working with our divine nature. So I have just a couple slides I'm going to share with you now. As you look at the 5 basic principles, there's lots of different versions of these, lots of different language, which is another good illustration of how we want to personalize the practice, because people have come up with different language. Why? Because some other language worked better for that person. So when you look it up, if you do a search on the Unity 5 principles, you'll find a lot of different versions. That's your wonderful invitation to pick the one that works best for you, and then even fine tune it so that it works even better for you. You don't have to spend a lot of time on this slide, but I did put it here, so I guess we got to look at it. So principle number 1, God is absolute good, everywhere present. Number 2, human beings have a spark of divinity within them, the Christ spirit within. Their very essence is of God, or our very essence is of God, and therefore we are also inherently good. Number 3, human beings create our experiences by the activity of our thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. Not every version of the basic principles specifically mentions denials and affirmations, but it is very foundational. So I like that this one includes that. And then finally, number 5, knowing and understanding the laws of life, or the basic principles, also called truth, are not enough. A person must also live the truth that he or she knows. So these are the 5 basic principles. And then here, look what I've done. Along the right-hand column, you'll see what these principles are about. The first one tells us what God is. The second one tells us who we are. The third one tells us how the world works. The fourth one tells us how we can be intentional about how the world works. And the fifth one says, this is not just in theory, this is how to live life. So when I say that denials and affirmations are based on progressive acceptance and understanding of the 5 basic principles, This is really fourth principle work. This is about how to be intentional with the fact that our thoughts have creative power. We are co-creators because we are one. We are expressions of the divine, the one cause, the one source of everything. So those are my slides. That's it. No more slides. So I want to go over just a little review because we do have some relative newcomers. So denials and affirmations are separate tools, two separate tools, but they're used together, and they work by changing the mindset, changing the consciousness, because our consciousness creates our experience. In the words of James Dillett Freeman, you should know James Dillett Freeman is the one who composed the prayer for protection that we sing at the end of every service. He said, our world is what our mental processes decree it to be. So recognizing that thoughts and beliefs become a course of habit, well, we don't want to let the habit just run away, right? We don't want to let it just take over. We want to be in charge of our thoughts and beliefs. And that's how we use denials and affirmations. We recognize that what's trapped maybe as a habit, it might be an error thought, something that's not aligned with truth. So we decide we want to get rid of it, the same way you would want to pull weeds out of your garden if you want to plant flowers there instead. To issue a denial is to deny that that thought or belief has any power. Charles Fillmore said, error thoughts must be told to go, and true thoughts must be called to take their proper place. So this is a deliberate process. Now, important, in Unity's use of the word denial is not pretending. The way we're using it, to deny, is to refuse. Some use the word release. Use what worked for you. Here's something really silly. I was starting to practice using denials and affirmations myself, and I thought, as I was using denials, sometimes such and such has no power in my life. And for some reason, the line started coming to me, off with its head. Okay, I do not normally speak that way, but only when I was saying this statement of denial for a little, like maybe a week or two, every time I would issue this statement of denial, I would follow it up with off with its head. And it would always make me smile and laugh a little bit, which meant I was at ease, which meant this was completely personal and I was comfortable. We want to be comfortable. This is kind of when I got the idea to talk about this, about personalizing the practice, because if I just follow somebody else's statement, it might be very true for me, but not as true as if it's just coming right out of my crazy imagination. Okay. I thought maybe that's the way it's going to be how I forever now use statements of denial. It's not. It went away. It was a passing fancy. But it really ought to be something that speaks really true for you and in the moment. All right. So off with its head. Something has no power in my life. Done. I banish it from my existence. It's done. Now, we don't deny facts. If something is a fact, I'm not going to go pretending. We don't deny feelings. But I might say that that feeling has no control, has no power over my life, right? We're aligning with truth. Now, once we've done that denial, we've cleared some space. We've taken all the vines and weeds out of the garden. Ooh, nice. We've got some nice space. Now, what do we want there instead? An affirmation, not a statement of wishful thinking, but a statement of truth. A statement of truth, right? If you don't have one handy right there in your head, we've got lots of them. Go to unity.org or whatever, find one. There's so many. Just find them. Okay, and it's got to be a truth statement, not a wishful thinking statement. For example, maybe I've been hampered by insufficient finances, but I happen to know that I live in an abundant universe. And I want to establish that in my mindset, in my consciousness, so that I'm not hampered by a silly notion of lack and limitation, which is clearly a fiction. So for me to affirm, I've got $1 million in my checking account, that would not be an effective unity affirmation, because I can tell you right now, it's just not true. And so it's not going to work as an affirmation. But if I affirm, I live in an abundant universe and I notice great blessings every day, that is going to work. And I'm going to say it with sincerity and enthusiasm, and it is going to create a shift in my consciousness. The statements have to feel good and natural because believing them is essential and they align with truth. An affirmation is a truth statement. James Dillett Freeman, again, he reminded us every moment, at every moment, a thought is entering our mind and we are saying yes to it or no to it. So be in charge. Since a lot of the thoughts come to us from, the radio or a TikTok video or a billboard or a stranger passing by or something that a parent said to us long ago or a teacher or a Sunday school teacher, right? Something. Be choosy about the thoughts that take up your headspace. When Paul says in Thessalonians 5:17 to pray without ceasing, it doesn't mean go around like this all the time, right? With your head bowed and your hands clasped together. It means be diligent about the thoughts that are occupying your mind. And in the words of Eric Butterworth, the self-conscious mind cannot take a joke. So the thoughts we're careless about have just as much creative power as the thoughts we are deliberate about. So let's be careful. The purpose of denials and affirmations is to establish a new pattern of thought. Why is that important? We go back to the 5 basic principles. It's because our thoughts have creative power. We want to bring about a change in consciousness in order to yield a new experience. So if you're a little new to Unity, you're going to be hearing this some more. If you've been around for a while, this was just a review. Thank you for bearing with me on that. And, Emily Cady gave us some universal statements of denial and affirmation in Lessons in Truth. They're great. They're wonderful. But certainly for your own purposes, come up with your own statements, whatever is true for you and for whatever is the issue at hand. By the way, James Dillett Freeman said that in the early days of the formation of Unity, he said they needed to use more denials and then over time gave way to using more affirmations. That makes total sense. It's gonna evolve because earlier on, of course, they were unlearning old habits, old traditions, old teachings. And then over time, that was more cleared and they could focus more on the creative, progressive aspects of their creative process. I like that lesson too, because it reminds us that we're going to evolve in our process. That's why I don't have to say off with their heads anymore, because I could get a little less violent with my denials. That's got to be progress. All right. So the study of truth has within it a quest for meaning, right? We know that around the world, a lot of people go to church or Sunday school for a story, but in Unity, we want something more. We want to say, well, what does this story mean to me? What does this teaching mean to me? What does this word mean to me? What does it mean to you? Because in your practice, that's what matters. Meaning is something that nobody else can give us. We might be open to suggestion, but we find true meaning and actual truth in our hearts. I'm going like this in my heart. I'm kind of pointing to my heart, but the heart I'm talking about is not here inside my chest. It's kind of here, it's like I reside in it. It's all around. It's just here. Emily Cady defines the secret place as the point of mystical union between man and God. She's so brilliant. I totally forgive her for saying man all the time instead of saying man and woman. I've gotten over that. Growth is possible. Emily Cady said that the personal truth intended for each of us, listen to this, I find this amazing. She said that the personal truth intended for each of us, quote, it is so secret that it cannot even be put into human language. Language is useful, but it's not the be all end all. So the language that we read and hear can only be an approximation. We have to find our own meaning. We have to get personal. We have to be on a first name basis with our spiritual practice. This is my recommendation, my strong recommendation. All right. So another story for you. I have a really good friend. Her name is Renee. We've been friends for almost 30 years. But for a long time, our friendship was, we'd go to dinner together sometimes, or one of us would host a party, so we'd see each other there. But I knew that our friendship had more potential than that. And so I made it my mission. And I started to say things like, hey, your house is on the way to my gig, so how about I stop by and just, visit with you for about an hour beforehand? Okay. So then I would just go over to her house and we would just be in each other's presence. And maybe I would just be standing there in the kitchen while she was cooking dinner. And that changed everything because it was no longer a special occasion. And now we became true intimate confidants. And that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. I didn't want it to be a special occasion relationship. She's she's now one of my emergency contacts. So, see, this is what it means to be on a first name basis. You want Spirit to be one of your emergency contacts, don't you? I wanted to take the formality out of the relationship, and I just needed to decide that and take a couple small steps to open it up, and I did that. And it worked. And I made the same decision about my spiritual practice, particularly when it comes to journaling, because sometimes I didn't know who am I writing to, and I wanted to know. And I was a little distracted by wondering because I wanted an answer, and I was distracted by wondering, am I writing to God? Am I writing to my higher self? Am I writing to a spirit guide? And not just writing when I'm journaling, but like when I'm out walking and I'm kind of having a dialogue with whom? And I was getting a little hung up on that, and that was not helpful. So I gave it an identity. And I don't care if it's God or my spirit guide or my higher self. It doesn't matter. But the line that would often come to my mind is, have you anything to say to me? I'm listening. Have you anything to say to me? And that is the first line of one of my favorite songs. Skylark, have you anything to say to me? And so I would just find myself singing in my mind, sometimes out loud, but often just in my mind, that song again and again. So I gave the name Skylark to that spiritual companion. That's all I need to know. And so sometimes if I'm feeling inspired or if I'm feeling decidedly uninspired and looking to correct that, I'll just say Skylark to call myself into that awareness. And that's a big help. And you might recognize it when Sara sings her next beautiful song for us, because that's the one I asked for. So I just wanted to share that. I haven't told that story to anybody before, but I thought, hey, if not now, when? And who else but my beautiful Unity community? There's one more thing that I want to share along the lines of personalizing spiritual principle. In Matthew and in Luke, Jesus teaches us to pray. He gives us what we call the Lord's Prayer. But when he says pray in this way, I don't think he meant repeat after me. But we do basically repeat after him to the best of our ability. And we say the Lord's Prayer, and that's fine. But for our meditation today, I will share my personalized interpretation of the Lord's Prayer, just line by line. And it's not the same every day, but it's what I've got today. And maybe sometime you'll take your own stab at it. Maybe you've done it before yourself already, and this is not an original idea. But I hope you do it. And just see, what does that prayer really say to you? When Jesus said, pray in this way, what's Jesus inviting us into? I know he didn't mean repeat after me. That's not his style. So let's prepare for meditation. Please get comfortable in the way that works best for you. And I'll sing the meditation song. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. So I think it goes something like this. Our Father, intimate, benevolent source shared by all, who art in heaven, where God is, all is well. Hallowed be thy name. Your nature is holy, whole, and precious. Thy kingdom come. I call on the fullness of divine truth now. Thy will be done. I seek no less than the highest good. On earth as it is in heaven. Dissolve the separation between human and divine. Give us this day our daily bread. My needs are fully met. Thank you. And forgive us our trespasses. I need not carry the burden of past errors. As we forgive those who trespass against us. We are all in this together, all children of God. Lead us not into temptation. I am divinely guided. Deliver us from evil. I am relieved of suffering. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. One power, one presence. Let's take a moment of silence. And now let's return to the present moment and the present space, closing our time of meditation, but never closing our time of spiritual connection and our time of truth seeking and openness. Finding and affirming that it's a blessing to be here in this moment and to be together. We affirm that all is well. And so it is. Amen. And we're now blessed with more special music from Sara.
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a journeying? the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane, and in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Wonderful music, faint as the will-o'-the-wisp, crazy fast and loose, sad as a gypsy serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Wonderful music, faint as a will-o'-the-wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there?
And now if you all would join me in a closing prayer again from a Unity booklet. Please join me in prayer. With a rich, deep breath in and out, I turn my gaze inward to the light of divine life in the heart of me. From this perspective, I glimpse a truth I need to know. God is, and therefore I am, the vitality and flow and fullness of life. Every health concern, relationship issue, or prosperity challenge heals now in my present moment awareness of wholeness, harmony, and abundance. I realize divine life as the strengthening force in which I can thrive. Every cell of my body responds with renewed vigor. Every thought and feeling conforms to the ideal of harmonizing love and a mindset of plenty. In deep appreciation, I agree with God, with life, and I choose daily thoughts and actions that foster wholeness, harmony, and abundance. And so it is, and I am so grateful that so it shall be. Amen.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family are we. Let us walk step I take, let this be my